This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Detroit is the greatest!
Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Darren McCarty comes back with Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What up, everybody? It's the Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. It's been a while, been about 2 weeks. We had the holiday week last week, so we're back, though. I am Jason Jarvie. Follow me on Twitter at Jarvie the King. And along with me for the ride, John, the Doc, Macaroon. We take a lot of time off, don't we?
When a guy like you tells me he's tired, we don't just try to power through. We're like, shoot, let's just shut it down. Not like the Tigers who are like every week coming out in interviews and are like, oh, that week where we were terrible, we got like 14 hours of sleep in 3 days total, so we sucked. So we're like, what? We're just a podcast, so if we're tired, shit, let's just shut it down.
I'm not getting paid $25 million.
Let's just shut that thing down.
Will you pay me $25 million?
No, you're not worth it.
If you pay me $25 million, I will be here every single day. I will do multiple podcasts a day.
Exactly. See, that's the attitude that I like to hear from you, Jason. Welcome to episode 108. How was the Memorial Day holiday for yourself?
I mean, it was busy. We did a lot of stuff. We did stuff with the in-laws, stuff with my family. You hear it all the time, but you need a vacation from your vacation. And I get that it's more about, it's not just about having that extra day off. It is about recognizing and honoring the people who fought and given their lives for our country. I'm very grateful for that. But, it was a good holiday, all in all.
I had a great weekend. This past weekend, I got to go to Chicago for my little cousin's graduation party. And it's so different when I look back at it now. And I was talking to my sister. I'm like, do you remember our graduation party? I'm like, no, I remember we had people over, we ate and kind of had it at the house. This was a little bit different. There were a lot of people there. We had it at a hall, and my cousin's such a sweet girl, and she had a lot of friends, a lot of family, a lot of people from the church community. So it was fun, Middle Eastern culture, eating a lot of food. I got to, for the first time ever, because of some difficulties that they had, I got to bartend a little bit.
Nice.
And I got to go behind the bar, make some mixed drinks, and kind of be a little social.
How are your mixing skills?
Well, it was kind of easy because Middle Easterners love scotch. So a lot of them just wanted scotch on the rocks. So I kind of at first had to ask people like, okay, how much do you kind of want? So that was step one. And then two.
Ladies don't like scotch on the rocks usually, do they?
Middle Eastern ladies did. I don't know what was going on, but a lot of people liked the black label. So that went pretty quick. And then, me and my brother-in-law, we kind of made up our own drink, peach, Moscato, and Sprite with lime. And it was a hit. So it was kind of social. It was nice. And I'm thinking, you know what? I might just have to take a bartending class and maybe work the skills. Maybe I'll be like the character in Cocktails, be like the Tom Cruise of the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. Maybe make my own DSP signature drink and another thing for us to sell.
I did mix up my own drink for my wife and my sister-in-law. It was like vodka, Malibu rum, and like simply raspberry lemonade and some orange juice.
Nice.
So it's a fruity drink. It's easy to drink.
Have you been going out to the local pubs? I know that you're a new father, so have you had a chance to go out and I know you're a beer guy. Have you had a chance to get out and about? Anything new with craft beers or anything new that you could recommend?
I haven't gotten a chance to really go out to any breweries or anything like that. Over the holiday weekend, though, I did pick up. I was just interested. It was a New Belgium juicy watermelon beer. It didn't really taste like anything in particular. It wasn't a bad beer, and if it was clearly bad, I would say so, but it was an easy beer to drink, but nothing super special. I did over this past weekend, I went and saw Wonder Woman.
Was it good?
It was a pretty solid movie.
Do you know Lebanese people are boycotting it because of the fact that the lead character, or some characters, I don't know in the specifics, some characters Israeli and we're not supposed to like them, but I'm not into all that. I'm not into the politics. When people ask me, are you Christian, Muslim, I say, I'm Lebanese. And that's it. I'm part of the whole country. I don't go down into all that breakdown, but I'll ask you, should I go see it? Because I'm not really that kind of guy. I don't like comic book movies. I don't like superhero movies all that much. I'm more along the lines of, let me sit at home, pop on Chris Rock special, pop on Dave Chappelle or Russell Peters and have a good laugh. But was it worth it? Is it a good movie?
It's a good movie. If you're not a comic book guy, and if you're not really interested into all the DC and the Marvel, the cinematic universes, then you don't really need to see it. There were some really good performances. I think Gal Gadot did a really good job as Wonder Woman, but there really hasn't been a ton of portrayals of Wonder Woman out there.
Okay, now I'm revealing my ignorance, but obviously I remember watching Wonder Woman as a kid passively, but is she affiliated at all with Batman or extension of
where?
Yeah,
that's the DC universe. So Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman. So, I mean, it's essentially what Marvel did with Iron Man. They had to start somewhere. And then they eventually went to, the Thors and the Captain Americas. So DC now, they started with Superman. They did the whole Batman Superman movie, and then Wonder Woman was that next superhero to get introduced into the big kind of genre. And this, I think in November, Justice League is coming out, which is essentially DC's Avengers movie. So it's going to be a combination of Batman, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Flash, and Cyborg.
Okay, so Wonder Woman, how many crowns does the king give Wonder Woman and why?
Out of 5 crowns, I'd give it at least 4 crowns. It was a really good movie. If you kind of just shut everything down, it was a fun movie to watch. I mean, you get to see a beautiful lady be a very strong female character, and if for anything, I think she has proven that you can have female superheroes and they can actually do really well at the box office. And she put on a great performance. So I think that might open the doors up for some more superhero movies coming up in the future. But I mean, it was a really good movie. It was a pretty interesting story.
Does it go along with any of the past stuff that was done with Wonder Woman or character storylines?
I mean,
did it move a storyline forward?
They're still building that whole universe. It's really been mainly about Superman and Batman. You saw a little bit of Wonder Woman in the Batman Superman movie, and in that past movie, they showed a picture of her from like the 1920s, and that's how Bruce Wayne, Batman, figured out that she was, an extraordinary person. And that's how it opened, is that she got the picture back, and then it kind of told the whole story. It's really her origin story.
Okay, so overall it was good. 4 crowns, you give it out of 5. What was the best part of the movie? What was something that they could have did much better?
Best part of the movie, it's hard to pinpoint like just one part that was really good. I think there was one that was really like her like first like big battle. They had a big battle on on her home like island, but so it takes place during World War I, and they're going basically into the fray of the war. So they're in a bunker on one side with the good guys, and then there's no man's land, and then the bad guys on the other side. And she essentially just plows through the entire no man's land, takes out everybody, and then they go into the city and take out everybody there. And it was a cool sequence of events.
Okay, and then anything that could have been done a little bit better, maybe in terms of the length of the movie or anything they could have added, or something that you could have said, well, they could have just maybe tweaked this a character or done something a little bit better to make the movie even better than it already is.
I mean, at times the story was a little clunky. Like they did this whole thing where, they live on this island that's shielded from the entire rest of the world, and she has this very naive point of view that if she, fixes this one thing, she's going to change the entire world. And I think they tried to initially go down that direction, but I think they kind of missed the mark on some points with that. And one thing that I do have an issue with kind of all DC superheroes is, aside from Batman, they're just all just so super powered that the villains that they have to get them to fight, they have to be equally super powered. Otherwise, it's just when you have a guy like Superman and Wonder Woman, who are essentially gods among men in these fictional universes, you pretty much have to bring another godlike character to fight them to have it be interesting at all. I mean, that's why Batman is so interesting, is because he's just a normal guy with a bunch of money and some martial arts skills.
Okay, so this movie, you're more than happy to recommend it. Pay full price. Don't wait till it goes to the cheap theaters. If you're a fan of DC movies, you can pay full price for this one.
Yeah, if you're a superhero movie enthusiast in general, I think you go see this movie. It's really fun.
Nice.
Okay, I appreciate that. 4 crowns for Wonder Woman from the King, Jason Jarvie. Maybe I'll check it out, but for me, it looks like from how you're describing it and from what I am into, Netflix. Netflix.
I'm not sure if it's going to go to Netflix pretty soon. Maybe HBO.
Okay, HBO when it comes out next year. It's usually around the same time because I'm so far behind. Do you know how many movies I have in my Netflix queue right now?
How many?
140.
Yeah, you're never going to get that down.
I've had Joy since February, so I got to watch Joy, send it back. So
Joy.
Yeah, when I first started with Netflix, I was averaging about 26 movies a year that was coming because they archive every single thing that you have watched or rented. They archive it, and so I was averaging 26 for the first couple of years. You know how many movies I've averaged that I've watched, completed, and had shipped to my home in the last 2 years with the kids?
3?
6.
You actually do the Netflix where you get DVDs?
I do the Netflix. I do both. I do the whole package.
How old are you?
I am 38 years old.
You actually use DVDs?
I use the Blu-rays. I have the singular Blu-ray package, and I was the guy that used to go to Blockbuster and then would pay late fees for losing movies or just taking it back really late. So Netflix was perfect, where I do the streaming and then I do the one video. And I have it sent, and it was early on. It was worth it, obviously. 26
too much money, man. You got to move just to that streaming because streaming's where it's at.
Yeah, exactly. Right now, I have to kind of keep it moving because the longest I kept the movie was, I think, 8 months. I kept, I forgot what movie I kept, but I kept the movie for 8 months before I sent it back. But that's the purpose of Netflix is that, hey, you get a movie, you can just let it sit there for a while, and you just pay the basic $18 a month. So for me, it's worth it. But you're absolutely right. I got to, this week, that'll be a goal. Watch the movie Joy and send it out to the next one. Now, the week that we were off, the Detroit Tigers struggled significantly. And it was one of those really crazy weeks where, everyone was talking about the storyline regarding them being tired, going out on the road. Everybody that's been interviewed since is talking about being tired. It was very interesting what Avila did upon the homestand starting, this recent homestand. So on Friday, he comes out and he addresses the media. And it was absolutely, in my opinion, perfectly timed with what he said, 2, the tone in which he was speaking, and 3, I really felt like he was talking to the club through the media. And what he did was, if you had not had a chance to hear it, is he gets the media, the television, the radio crew up together, and he's talking about, like, look, obviously we're not where we want to be. Obviously that road trip was terrible. And then he said what everybody wanted to hear was, the excuses that we were tired are terrible. We can't be using that. And he came out and said it, that, I'm tired of hearing it, that the television people were saying it, the squad was saying it, the manager was addressing it. Everybody that was affiliated with the club was talking about being tired, and the fans were all pissed off, and they were really upset that the team was 4 to 5 games under 500. He comes out and sets the tone and says, look, no, we're not where we need to be, and it's not a situation where there's a deadline. If there's a situation where we're going to decide, we're looking at it constantly in terms of deconstructing this team. And what do the Tigers do? They come home. You could say they were rested. They were really kind of, they had a strong desire to come back and put a hurting on the White Sox. And they came back and they had an unbelievable weekend. Now, at the time of this recording, Monday they're off. They've won 4 straight, 5 of 6, and they're back at 500. At the time of this recording, 28 wins, 28 losses. And I sit here not super excited about it. I say to myself, okay, they're pretty much where I think they should be. They're exactly at 500, but I feel like they recouped from that awful, awful road trip. And it's good to see them destroy a team like the White Sox, who threw out some awful pitchers over the weekend. You're still bored with all that?
This Tigers team, you remember, I had hope for this team coming into the season. I said there was reason to hope. There's no hope for this team. I mean, the best that we can hope for is that they're going to sneak into the wild card. I mean, they're definitely in the division if you actually want to try and make a run, but nothing so far has shown me that this team can be consistent enough to, really make a difference in this league.
I'm going to try and jolt you. I'm going to be your Detroit Tigers coffee. Let me tell you what they're doing steadily. Now,
in the past 3 games, they scored 32 runs.
No, the team has offensive talent. We know that. It's going to come. It's going to ebb and flow. But what they're doing is they're steadily deconstructing the team, one bum player at a time. Okay, Anibal Sanchez hasn't pitched all that much. He's down. He's on the team. He's on the minor leagues working on some things.
Yeah, he wants to come back to be a starter.
That's a lofty goal. I don't think he's going to reach it, but he's no longer on the big league main roster. Tyler Collins, they gave him chance after chance. They broom him out. Mark Lowe didn't do it in spring training. They let him go. Pelfrey, they let him go. They're still paying his salary, and he had some decent performances, but he's not lighting the world on fire. So steadily, you're starting to see a little bit of influx of some guys from the minors that are doing some things. Hicks has come up, has steadily contributed, got some key hits over the weekend that produced some runs. And you start to see, Warwick Saupold came up earlier last year. He struggled. He was inconsistent. But his last couple performances have helped the Tigers. And on Sunday, JV, some age kind of crept up a little bit of a sore groin. Maybe had an overly fun weekend with the missus. You never know. He tweaked his groin a little bit unable to perform on Sunday. So Saupold comes in and performs solidly, 4 solid innings, and allows the Tigers to get back into the ball game. And so I say to myself, look, they can't do it all at once. And we could sit here, and I've said it thousands of times. I'll say, drop this guy, drop that guy, drop them all at once. But what they've done is, systematically, they're starting the process of deconstructing the team. I feel like they do it way too slow, but they're starting the process of moving out the bums and bringing up guys that can do some things, and they're contributing.
Yeah, but
that doesn't excite you at all a little bit? That they were 4 games under, there was a little bit of rumbling, which I think rumbling is good, and they come back and they win 5 of 6.
I like the change, but it wouldn't matter to me if they were winning or losing these games. If they were actually making change and they were bringing the right guys up, that in itself, I'm saying, yeah, that's a step in the right direction. But as far as this team really succeeding this year,
yeah, see, I think you're talking to me.
It's not going to make a difference.
You're talking to me about globally. I'm just kind of focusing on the last 2 weeks. Yeah, globally, I want them to sell.
If you want to look at the last 2 weeks, you look at the last 2 weeks, there's the same team. It's a roller coaster.
One bad week, one good week.
You can bring up all the John Hicks and Alex Presley, is that his name? And the Warwick Suppolds, the guys from Australia. You can bring up all those guys. Unless those guys are going to immediately be stars and absolutely change your team, you are still relying on Miguel and Victor and JD Martinez and Justin Upton, and you're at the mercy of those guys and what they're going to do night in and night out. That's just this offense. It confuses me.
Okay, listen, there were a myriad of excuses regarding that road trip. May was brutal. We all knew it was going to be brutal. And hell, even on this podcast, we said, look, May's going to be super tough. They play a lot of games and a lot of games away from home. Try to be around 500. Get back to June where you play a lot of teams that are lesser opponents than you did in May. And that's exactly what's happened. So for me, I'm not overly excited in terms of what the Tigers have done. But when I look at it and talk about the team, I say, okay, it's a 500 team. And it's a team that's going to be scuffling some weeks, but when they perform well, you say to yourself, oh boy, if they can keep this going, then you have an opportunity to put some things in place. So, yeah, the overall thoughts with the Tigers are we're hoping that they can continue, but in the end, the biggest questions that are arising are what's the future of the ball club? And now you're seeing a couple assets, and these are the biggest talking points with the Detroit Tigers. Justin Upton is performing. And I think he's going to perform to the level where he's going to decide himself to opt out of his contract. Not because he's unhappy with the Tigers, but because of the fact that if he's going to drop 35 home runs this year and he's going to perform and drive in a lot of runs, then he could even make more money, maybe in the neighborhood of $26 to $30 million a year. And so maybe it's in the Tigers' best interest to let him perform and let him decide to opt out. But the second, and I think the biggest question that's starting to form now, is what does this team do with JD Martinez? Because dude in like 70 appearances has got 10 home runs, and he's mashing the hell out of the baseball. And I heard a great call on sports radio, and they were kind of debating and talking about JD Martinez, what to do with him. And someone called up and said, look, if the Tigers are not really going to build around him, then you got to trade him. Because if everyone...
You got to get something for him.
You got to get something for him. Because, look, the teams like the Royals that won the World Series, the Cubs that won the World Series, they don't have JD Martinez, and they were able to continue and able to do some things. But on the other side, though, dude is box office. I want to go down there and see him this week. I want to see what the dude is able to do because he's a big bat. He's a guy that has something to him, and he's a great story. This is a guy that maybe you could build around. I just feel like now when I start thinking about JD Martinez, you know what comes to mind? Bad timing. He's right smack dab in the middle of a rebuild when we got a superstar, and it's just 4 years. He's 4 years too early. He's 4 years too early, so you got to trade him.
Yeah, unfortunately, unless this team is going to go on a tear and win a World Series this year, I think you have to try and get whatever you can for him. Because in the offseason, he's going to get a lot of money. Somebody's going to offer him a ton of money. So it's either pay him that money and put another gigantic contract on your payroll, or you move him. And I think that's really where this team should look at trying to move these players. I mean, try to move. If Justin Upton is going to perform the way he's going to do, try to trade Justin Upton. I really don't think anybody is off the table. And I think that would be one way. If you actually do want to build around JD Martinez, then you got to trade it. You got to try and trade everybody else. I mean, everyone really has to be on the table. Obviously, I think Justin Verlander, Miguel Cabrera, those guys are on the table, along with Victor Martinez. I don't think you're probably going to be able to get much for those. But Ian Kinsler, Justin Upton, I think you put Nick Castellanos on the waiver to try and see what you can get from him. So you got to pick who you're going to build around.
Yeah, so you're thinking along the same lines as like, look, he's a very, very valuable commodity, and you don't get.
But he's also not that young either. He's a late bloomer. There was a reason that we just found him out of nowhere. That it took him time to really get to this point.
Do you see him, being a Detroit Tiger after the trade deadline?
Probably.
You think so?
I don't see any imagination with this Tigers front office, and I think we're probably going to be in a bad situation in the next couple of years.
You feel like this is not a situation where they're going to have enough of foresight to make the right moves and pull the trigger on a sell? He said it. He said, many people do believe in the Morosi article in that if the Tigers are under 500 or they're not going to be competing in early July, because they do have a series that first week, I believe, in July versus the Indians, that if they're not in the hunt to win it all, then it's time this year for all the pieces to be sold. You're not buying it?
But the major problem is they're probably going to be in it. The AL Central, we're at 500. We're only 2.5 games behind Minnesota right now. So more than likely, even if we're a couple games under 500, we're going to be right there. So we'd have to really drop off for this team to just know that, hey, it's time to start selling off. Because I think they're trying to win right now. They still have that mindset. We're probably going to stick around with JD Martinez for the rest of the year. And more than likely, either we're going to pay him an assload of money at the end of the year, or he's going to be gone. And we're really going to be in a bad position because we're going to have another year older Miguel Cabrera, another year older Victor Martinez. Who knows? How long is it going to take Justin Verlander to come back next year and get into form? So we're going to be stuck with an aging lineup and a bunch of unproven players.
Yeah,
with nobody in the minor league system.
It's really tough right now. I wouldn't say nobody. There are some guys.
We have some guys, but you look at the teams like what the Chicago Cubs did, like what the Kansas City Royals did. They had a lot of they were bad for a while too, and they built up their minor league system, and they were able to bring guys up like Anthony Rizzo and Chris Bryant, and they don't have JD Martinez, but they also have a lot of really good players on that team already. I don't see that in our system.
Okay, so right now you're kind of looking at it like, okay, they're a 500 team. They are kind of where we thought they would be. They're just going about their business, and it's kind of tough to watch too because you're seeing what is really tough with being a Tigers fan is that it's kind of purgatory.
Yeah,
if they're good enough,
if they're gonna win, they're gonna win with the lineup that they have.
Exactly,
or they're gonna just tank.
Exactly. It's one of those things where they're right there where they're good enough. You see the offensive prowess. You see what they're able to do. There are nights where they can drop 15 runs on an opponent, but there are other nights where the weakness is defensively, the mistakes on the base pads, they're too difficult to overcome at times. And so exactly, when we started talking about the Tigers, I believe back in March, we said around 85 wins. I feel like that's where exactly they're going to end up. They're going to be anywhere between 85 and 87 wins, and in the AL Central, it might be enough to make the postseason. But do you see, honestly, this team making any damage, any noise? No. So that's why each and every week when we come on and talk about it, it's advantageous for Avila to really start hitting the phones and for him to start to look to unload a Justin Wilson, a JD Martinez, and get 4 to 5 players that can help you and really officially start the process. But anything at all that's made you kind of go, oh, okay, I want to peek into a storyline with the Detroit Tigers at this point in time? No storylines have caught your attention since your last visit to Comerica Park? JD, Southport, Upton, Miguel versus Pujols this week?
Summer is here, and we are in Tigers purgatory.
That's how it is for you, huh?
So going to be up and down. I hate that we're in this situation again because I feel like we've been like this for the previous 2 seasons. That it's going to be 1 week we're going to be here, be like, oh, they rattled off 4 out of 5 wins, and they were just hitting the cover off the ball, and then the next week we're going to be back and just saying, God, what happened to this offense? And our bullpen is so crappy.
It's an infuriating team. You got to be a little bit crazy to sit there and watch it. But the games have been a little bit faster at Comerica Park. They do look a little bit more, into it. It's more entertaining. And Brad Ausmus kind of lit a fire on Sunday, getting ejected in the first inning, showing a little bit of life and doing his thing and standing up for his guys. It's a team that is a little bit unlikable, but the talent on the team is, something that can keep you at least interested a little bit, don't you think?
Yeah, maybe. Well, I'll be there on Thursday. We're going to take the kid to his first Tigers game. So I'll give you a first-hand report on if anything looks different or if we're looking at this SOT, same old Tigers.
No doubt about it. Okay, I'm interested to see if I can jolt you out of this malaise that you're in with the Tigers. Maybe you're still coming off of that road trip similar to the Tigers, still a little bit tired.
It's the problem with baseball. There's 162 games. It's easy when there's football. It's once a week, and you can just break it down once a week. There's so many games, and there's just so much room for. They're good today. They're bad this day. But
I want to give kudos to Avila. The talk that he had was well timed. And it is one of those things where I do believe he was sending a message, and it was a message that needed to be sent, and they heard it. And upcoming this week, they got a series versus the Angels. I'm definitely locked in to see if Pujols can come in again and do a little bit of damage. People are talking a little bit about kind of who is the hitter of the modern era. Is it Pujols? Is it Miguel Cabrera? A lot of interesting debates over the week. And follow us on Twitter at Detroit Podcast as we kind of get into the series versus the Angels and some of those debates regarding, I know people are having the LeBron versus Michael Jordan debate, but I think on this network throughout the week, we're going to start to have the process of the debate between Miguel Cabrera and Albert Pujols as we see what they do against each other.
I think real quick, before we see what actually happens, and it might be a homer. I got to go with Miguel. Obviously,
either way, I think you can have a really legitimate debate about it. And,
if Albert would have stuck with the Cardinals, I think that would have been a different story. But because he was so good on St. Louis, and he just kind of seemed to drop off once he left.
All right, let's take our first time out. Episode 108 will continue. We'll talk a little bit about the NBA Finals, the NHL Stanley Cup Finals, and we'll talk a little bit about some parity in basketball and hockey because, there are some factors that we got to get to as to why maybe some of these leagues don't have as much parity as others as well.
Motor City Sports Rant, Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Jason, I want to tell you about our host site, Podomatic. When Adam and I first started this project back in September of 2013, we were looking for a spot to place all of our recorded audio, and we found Podomatic.com, and we're very thankful that we did because of the fact that it's a user-friendly platform, very easy to upload all our recorded audio. Adam and I, this week, we're approaching episode 200. We're going to record it this week, and it's really a good testament to Adam and I in terms of the fact that we recorded 200 podcasts back to back to back to back each and every week.
Got anything special planned?
Trying. I got a big guest in the works, maybe. But as always, Jason, we try to put on a great podcast. And hey, when we're done, all the audio goes up to Podomatic.com. And you've heard it. You've shared it with all your friends and family. Hell, if we would have put up a podcast and you couldn't hear it, then how do we grow an audience? How do we grow loyalty? How do we tell people, hey, listen to us every single week? You'd be like, oh, forget it. I'm just going to move on to some of the other podcasts around town. But we've been able to sustain and grow our audience because of the fact we got a great host site. So if you're looking to start a brand new podcast and you want to reach success, Doc, Jason, Vito, Jerry, everybody affiliated with the Detroit Sports Podcast Network would recommend you use Podomatic.com. Did you get into the whole LeBron versus Michael Jordan kind of chit chat with anybody at work or anybody?
Oh, yeah. We actually talked about it on air.
Oh yeah.
And
where does Mr. Big stand on the whole situation?
He's not really a sports guy, so he kind of went along with what me and Shay said. It was essentially me and her against Weird Beard Rick, and we're both pro Michael Jordan, and he's on LeBron's side, which makes absolutely zero sense.
Listen, I've seen them both. Obviously, now being 38 years old, I grew up obviously, loving the Pistons and Michael Jordan trying to come up. Listen, I understand that it is kind of a debate that you could have, but it's not the same debate. Listen, they're both out of this world talent. If I had one player and I could only have one, I'm taking Michael Jordan. Not because of the fact that I think he's a better shooter, not because of the fact that I think he's got such greater skills than LeBron, but something about his will to win, something about the fact that he would punch his own teammates in practice, something about his sheer desire to win, I feel like was unparalleled, in my opinion.
I think Jordan had that. He had the killer instinct. LeBron definitely can go in and he can finish.
At the same time, though, Jason, we can also say the same thing in terms of, look, could Michael Jordan be on the Cavs and beat this version of the Warriors? No. I'm not sitting here thinking that Michael Jordan's Superman and he could single-handedly beat an opponent the likes of Golden State. And that's showing respect to Golden State.
I respect Golden State, but I think, I don't know, if you put Michael Jordan in this day and age on the Cavs with Kyrie and Kevin Love, I think he could probably do some things.
I totally disagree because of the fact that right now, you look at what KD and what Golden State is able to do in terms of the offense, the passing, the sheer number. They got 4 or 5 guys that at any given time could drop 40 points. So it's just one of those things where you can't, it's not knocking LeBron. And I think this is what we get into is we say to ourselves, well, because of the fact that the Golden State Warriors are so awesome, that LeBron must suck. No, I give major props to Golden State for having 4 to 5 amazing top-of-the-line, world-class ballers. And LeBron, come on now. You guys are like, everyone has really high expectations.
He want LeBron drops like 30 points a game in the finals.
Yeah, they want LeBron James to be able to, single-handedly carry. And that would be a great story. It would elevate him. But LeBron he's made it. He's done it. And yes, he's battling history. And yes, he wants to be known as the guy. But Michael Jordan, in terms of the fact of going, I think, twice, winning 3 times in a row, is unparalleled. And if he hadn't left, for whatever reason, if you believe the rumors or not, he probably could have won 8 titles in a row.
Never lost. I always point to never lost a finals. And LeBron is what? He's 3 for 7 right now?
It's still amazing. It's still the fact that, look, people want to play for him. He's got a lot of great skills that Michael doesn't. His passing, his court vision, his ability to be an on-floor general, his size, the sheer size of the man is unparalleled. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, if you go purely on all-around basketball player, I think it would be hard to not take LeBron. But if you're looking for somebody if you say end of the game, you want one person to take a shot, Michael Jordan, LeBron James, I absolutely want Michael Jordan taking that shot because he's a killer. He is a shooter. He averaged 30 points a game for his career.
Now, when you look at, obviously it's a great series. It's the Cavs and the Warriors. It's the 2 teams that are kind of taking over the NBA. You feel like it's a good thing? It's a bad thing? I was kind of excited, hoping it would be a competitive series, but the first 2 games were blowouts, and it kind of leads to the storyline that people are saying, like, look, we waited all year for this, and this is what's coming out. It hasn't been really dramatic at all. I am definitely shocked at what Golden State is capable of doing and their sheer talent. But in terms of storyline, close games, I think we might only get 1 or 2 in the entire series. And we might be getting the story where can Golden State go undefeated in the postseason? That would be an amazing story.
I'm really split on this because I know there's a part of me that says this is bad for the NBA. That
it is.
It's for the 3rd year in a row you now have 2 teams who have met each other in the finals. And you'd like to have some sort of parity, but you pretty much knew going into this season, after the Warriors went out and got Kevin Durant, that it's probably going to be a rematch again. But then the other part of me, I think it's really cool because this is the first time it's ever happened in history of having 2 teams play together 3 straight times, and they clearly are the best teams in their respective conferences.
Golden State's going to be back. You know that. Can the Cavs come back? I think there are going to be some tweaks. should they lose the series. Most people are saying that Kevin Love could be gone. Some of the role players could be mixed and matched.
But I don't think you can count out any team that LeBron's going to be on. How many has it been?
7 straight finals.
7 straight finals. So if you put him on any team, you can put him on the Pistons, and the Pistons would immediately become a contending team at that point. And if he's still there, the Cavs are going to be probably the front runners to compete to win the Eastern Conference again.
So you're a little bit conflicted regarding the parity in the NBA, but for me, it's true to form.
I also really, really want Cleveland to lose because I hate Cleveland.
That'd be great.
And I want them to lose every single time. I wanted them to lose last year, and it would have been, how good would it have been if they would have went to the finals 3 years in a row and lost every single time.
Yeah, but Draymond Green,
so funny.
Draymond Green, unfortunately, cost that storyline because of the fact that he got silly, and the Warriors were up 3-1.
I blame Steph Curry for last year.
You blame Steph? No, you blame more Draymond Green.
I mean, yeah, he was out the one game, but Steph didn't perform last year, and it's clearly you see this year Steph Curry had something, and he's performed this year. He went like 28 the game 1, and he had over 30 in game 2, and the X factor. Kevin Durant has been phenomenal these first 2 games, and really watching both of those games, he's had the dagger both times. I think in game 1 there was a 3 that he hit. It was just like it's game over. There's no way they're coming back for it. And then game 2, you watched the game.
I watched them both.
The series where he blocks Kevin Love. I don't think he even jumped. He just blocked Kevin Love.
Yeah,
takes it down the court, dribbles around LeBron, and then lays it up over Kevin Love again. I'm like,
baller, right?
You can't do nothing about that.
Everybody's talked about it, and here's where I stand on this whole thing. Look, if your ultimate goal is to win, I don't hate KD for going to the Warriors, okay? Because if you survey the landscape and you tell yourself, look, if I'm going to stay here with Westbrook and OKC as a unit, can we really compete against Golden State? He's going to look and be honest with himself and say, hell no. And obviously he was recruited, and he said to himself, look, I want to win a title. What's an avenue for me to become a winner? Because I think that, the narrative that he joined the Warriors, so he's soft. You know what? Doesn't matter. The ring will still be shiny. His name will still be associated with.
He could win the MVP for this.
He could be the MVP.
I don't think soft players win MVPs.
Exactly. And so I feel like he didn't want to go down as a guy like Charles Barkley or Dan Marino, or a guy that was a talented guy but never won. So I don't begrudge him for doing it, but I also recognize that people are going to say it, and he should also be aware that people are going to comment, and they're going to be haters. But it doesn't matter. I'm always of the opinion that, look, if you're going to live your life, worrying about the haters, you're always going to be unhappy. So you make the decision, you go forward, and you take down the ring. And I hope he does it, because if they choke again, I don't think his legacy can handle it. I think he'll lose a lot of respect.
I mean, though, I think you're going to hear it said about every team going forward at this point. Because, you look at just going back to the previous NBA champions. I'm pulling up the list right now. Hold on. Pause. Oh. So you got
the Cavs and the Warriors.
Warriors. I mean, the last team that wasn't stacked, maybe the Spurs against the Heat. Then the Heat won 2. And
you got to have talent to win. You got to have talent to win.
No going back to the Boston Celtics when they got Kevin Garnett and Ray Allen.
The original, big 3.
Miami Heat originally when they brought in Shaq. So it's
you got to have talent, and it's unfortunate if you're outside of the big couple teams right now that are trying to vie for the title. If you're the Pistons, it just makes it really kind of irrelevant, because you ask yourself a simple question: are they in the Cavs category? No. Are the Pistons in the league of the Boston Celtics? No. So it makes them irrelevant. And it's just tough for them, because people know, like, look, you're not even in the dance, so call me when you're even close to the door. You're not even in the vicinity of the club. You're in the other town trying to get over to the club. They're nowhere near where they got to be in terms of competitiveness. And LeBron's teams are only going to get better. I mean, they're talking about potentially recruiting Paul George, Jimmy Butler. We're trying to figure out what to do with Andre Drummond, Reggie Jackson.
Spurs might try and get Chris Paul, which and you put him on a lineup with Kawhi Leonard, LaMarcus Aldridge. These teams are sick.
Yeah, and so if you flip it around to hockey, I'm not invested at all in the NHL finals. I hate the Pittsburgh Penguins. The Nashville story is great, but I'm not invested. Maybe if they tie it up, if the series gets to 2-2, I'll peek into game 5. But so for me watching hockey, I just tell myself, look, there's a lot more parity because of the cap. It's a little bit better than in basketball. But for me, I'm not a fan of hockey right now as it is because of the fact that my team, the Red Wings, are kind of fading a little bit.
So you don't care who wins in the NHL?
I do not care at this point in time who's going to win the cup.
I might. People are probably going to hate me for this.
Come on.
People are going to hate me for this. And I knew going into this that I didn't want Sidney Crosby to win.
Oh, my God.
You said it. Oh, my God.
I also didn't want Nashville to win. Mm-hmm. And I thought going into it, because I had the conversation with my brother. He has a family friend who's like the head trainer for the Predators. So they're clearly rooting for them. And he said, if Nashville gets in there and it's Sidney Crosby, who are you going to root for? And I was like, probably Nashville.
Yep.
But watching these games, I can't root for Nashville.
No, why not? PK Subban?
No, it's something about the rivalry that we did have as Red Wings that I don't want this upstart team to get the ultimate prize in hockey before the Red Wings do again. Yeah. I can't let them win.
Yeah.
I don't like Pekka Rinne. I don't like the whole Smashville because I feel like they've just stolen that all from the Red Wings.
I guess.
And I really don't. I hate Sidney Crosby, but I see the Predators as an upstart team, and I don't want them to win.
In terms of basketball and hockey, don't you feel like a little bit that at least hockey, across the league, there's a little bit more parity than in basketball? Right now, basketball, you basically, in essence, killed the regular season, where I haven't even paid attention to, outside of the Pistons, nothing except the NBA Finals. You had, the Warriors go 12 games, go undefeated, and now they're 14-0 in the postseason. The Cavs only lost one game in the entire postseason, and you had the entire regular season basically equate to being nothing. Hockey, at least you have a nice, race to start with all the points and the teams that were bunched up. And look, Nashville was an 8 seed. So you have a little bit of competitive balance across the league. And what it kind of shows is, in terms of basketball, is you look at the sport and you say, okay, a lot of the top talent is going to want to pair up. And they've kind of found a formula where, okay, I'm not going to just, sit idly by and be the star on the team. I need somebody, I need help. So superstars are pairing up. Whereas in hockey, there's a lot more talent across the league, and the salary cap has helped it a little bit.
I think the problem, though, is that there really aren't. There's no superstars. I mean, in hockey, and the superstars that are in hockey,
not Austin Matthews.
People hate the superstars in hockey.
Really?
Sidney Crosby, I hate Sidney Crosby. The Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews and the Blackhawks, I hate those guys. I'm sure a lot of other people hate the Blackhawks. The Boston Bruins, people don't like them, and I think you create devout fan bases in hockey, where in basketball you're really rooting for the stars in those teams, because I want to see the Warriors win this series.
So hockey has to market their stars a little better and turn them around from being hated guys into guys that you can kind of respect, maybe do a little bit more promotional type stuff.
I mean, maybe hockey does need to have like just an all-star team out there. I don't think you can do that anymore, though, with the salary cap really hindering everything. I don't know. I think hockey is really just destined to be
a niche thing.
Yeah, it's a niche sport, unfortunately. I love hockey, but it really is. It's a niche sport when it comes to the 4 major sports.
See, I think, before we get out of here, the thing that we were talking about a little bit is the whole notion of the cap. The salary cap was supposed to make the league have more parity. But what's happened is the quality of general managers has gone down. And so you have teams that are picking high year after year, but they're not picking the right guys. And so you look at it and you go, oh my goodness, you have a team like the Oilers. They picked in the top 5 for damn near 6-7 years, and they weren't able to hit until finally they landed Connor McDavid. The Maple Leafs.
It was just a no-brainer.
And look with the Maple Leafs. Austin Matthews is a no-brainer. But look at all the years that they struggled. And that's the argument against tanking, is that, there's no guarantee that you're going to find a guy at the right spot, and you're going to be losing for 6, 7, 8, 9 years. Nobody in this point in time in the sports world has the patience to wait that long. You lose coaches, you lose general managers, eras change. For me, I'm a fan of what the baseball's done. No salary cap. Let the general managers have resources. If you run a good business and your club has money, go out and spend it and get the talent. That's what should happen. Salary caps salary caps ideally are supposed to help the leagues, but if you look at it in total, in basketball and hockey, I don't think it's really helped. I think it's made it where it's made other issues come up that have hurt the league. And I think that baseball's done a great job.
It also makes it tough to really, you don't really see players moving around too much. I mean, in the NBA, you almost see it where the All-Stars team up and they get on together with a bunch of other All-Stars to try and create the super team. But in the NHL, it's created now. So your superstars, you lock those guys up, and guys like the Detroit Red Wings now, we would have had a shot maybe in free agency. We don't get shots in free agency anymore.
And so that's why I say, when the Red Wings were good, it took talent. It took Kenny Holland talent to find the right guys to mix and match because it wasn't automatic. For me, I think salary caps have hurt basketball and hockey, and now you're seeing what basketball players are doing is that they're trying to finagle ways to get all the top guys only on a couple teams. That's what's going to hurt the league, I think, in the next couple of years, is that you could look at the Cavs and the Warriors for the next maybe 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a possibility. The only thing that you have to throw in there is injuries. If LeBron James goes down, I mean, he hasn't had any real major injury, which I think he's built like a brick house, so he's probably not going to go down. So you look at the Warriors with Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, they've both had injury issues in the past. So I am actually really surprised that Kevin Durant lasted this entire season. It's probably because he didn't have to carry an entire team that he had to do in Oklahoma City. So he was around other guys and an entire team. It'll be interesting to see.
All right, Jason, great podcast.
Is it time for football yet?
Yes, football's around the corner. We're getting there. Great podcast. Episode 108 in the books. Look forward to talking to you about the Tigers next week, maybe looking at the Tigers and the Pistons and some more things in Detroit sports. Follow Jason at Jarvie the King. You can follow the network at Detroit Podcast. And for all news and notes, visit our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com.
Later.
Okay, nice, idiot. You. Bye-bye.
Toodaloo, motherfucker.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.